Hi folks, welcome to another video on Bod's Reef. Today I'm going to be doing an update on my progress with the ALR1 reactor. It's full to the top of Chaeto, so I'm going to be showing you what's in there. It's the first time I'm going to do it myself, so I'm going to be taking it all out, trimming some down, getting rid of that and setting it up ready to go for another week or 2 weeks, depending on how long it takes to fill up. So it's been about 10 days since the Chaeto's been in, and it's pretty full as far as I can tell, so I'm going to show you the process involved with that. So I'm going to be learning as I do this video, so hopefully it'll be interesting and we'll see what's inside. So this is the view in the sump at the moment. There's the ALR1 front, which I'm going to start working on in a moment. So just thought I'd give you guys a quick look at the sump as it is now before I start making a complete mess attempting this for the first time. So that's what it looks like at the moment, and we'll see what it looks like inside in 2 seconds. Okay, so that's the ALR1 out the sump. That was pretty easy to do, other than the fact that it's quite a tall unit, so you really do have to lean it over to get it out. There's a red isolator valve at the bottom which you need to close as you lift it up, otherwise the water that's held in the chamber starts shooting out in all different directions. So that's one thing to remember. I found it easiest to do that anyway. There's now there's 6 screws on the top which I need to undo. The top will rotate off, which will have the LED on, so I'll be able to take that off, put that somewhere nice and safe, and then we can start delving inside and see what we've got. Right, so this is the next stage of the process. So I've removed the 6 retaining screws, took the lid off, which also has the LED strip. That had a little bit of algae on, which just wiped off just with a bit of kitchen roll, so not as bad as I was expecting, to be honest. Cleaned up the lid as well, just so I can see down through the centre of the reactor when it's all finished. So you can see there the Chaeto that's grown in 10 days. That's all grown in 10 days. From there was a tiny bit at the start of each section, and I've now got all this. So I'm going to be removing 90% of that, cleaning it all up inside, and then popping it back in, ready to go again. So that's what it looks like after 10 days, folks. Okay, so this is the next stage. The Chaeto's been removed. There was loads actually. It was really compact when it was all in position, so when I was removing it there just seemed so much of it. So I've kept about the same as I started off with and cleaned up the central bit, which took a bit of cleaning. A lot of algae on the inside of that tube as well, which was a bit of a nightmare to clean, but overall it's probably took about 10 minutes to clean it up to this stage as it is now. So I'm going to put the new Chaeto in and then reassemble it, get it back in position and get it back on. That's the new Chaeto back in place. I can't really remember if that's the same as I started off with before, if it's a little bit more or a little bit less. I think each time I do this I'm going to try and experiment with starting with a bit more at the start, seeing how it affects the nutrient balance in the system, or with a bit less, see, just really give it a bit of an experiment really. But that's what I'm going for this time. So that's Chaeto ready to go back in and ready to go. That's the ALR back in position, all tightened up at the top. One thing to note is there's a little rubber O-ring at the top, so you need to make sure that's seated in nicely before you tighten up the 6 screws. It doesn't matter so much for me because it's in the sump, but if it was out of the sump you need to make sure that's seated properly, otherwise you could potentially have some leaks. Took a second to refill up and seems to be back to normal, so I'm just going to pop the light on, neaten up the wiring and one last little clip and we should be good. So that's the process finished. It's back in, lights on, Chaeto in. There seems to be some bubbles coming out of the return pipe from the reactor, and I do remember it doing that at first when I first put it in brand new for the first time, and that kind of settled down over, I'm not sure how long it took actually, so we'll see how long that goes, but yeah, that's the only thing I've noticed at the moment. So let me just see if you can see them. You can just see the few small tiny air bubbles that are coming up through it at the moment, which I'm pretty sure it did when it first started, but I'll keep my eye on that. But other than that, everything seems to be in, done, working. So that seems to be a successful procedure. So that's how to do the ALR1, to remove the Chaeto. I'm going to test the water parameters and see how we're getting on after the first 10 days of having this piece of equipment in the tank, see what effect it's had on the nutrient balance in the system, and I'll keep you guys informed. So elegance coral doing really well, clownfish still in there. Candy cane coral's doing really well. I've got the pulsing xenia here, which is a bit of a nuisance, to be honest. I don't know how everybody else keeps control of this, but it just seems to get absolutely everywhere. So the more I cut it out, the faster it seems to grow, and it seems to find new patches all over the place. So that's difficult to control. I don't know if anybody's got any ideas on how to control that any better, but it seems to be cropping up everywhere. Big patch of pallies are doing really well. Maxima clam also doing well. Lots of new growth underneath there. That's definitely getting bigger. Seems to be shuffling around a little bit, so sometimes it's in a different angle to another, but definitely seems to be doing well. Great coloration on that. I'm just getting hassled at the moment by the fish, but got a green Montipora elkhorn down there, which is it was doing really well, then it didn't do so well, so I thought I'd took it out, and there was a tiny bit left on the rock there, which just seems to be growing now again. So that's about to get swamped by the pallies on that rock, but if it grows fast enough, that'll probably stand its ground. Okay, I'm going to wrap the video up now. So that's the video on the ALR1 reactor and the first 10 days of use. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.